Welcome back, Chiefs fans. You want to know about your rookies and how they're affected in general this season as they go on at the break. What can they do in the second half? It's Rookie Talk right here today on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. Thanks for making us your first listen. This is Locked On Chiefs, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free. We're brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. Just go to prizepicks.com and use that code Locked On. Check it out. Now, lot coming out. Obviously, the end of last week was kind of topsy-turvy. We're going to talk about what happens to the rookies today. Where are they contributing? What do they still have to do? We'll get into all of it. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting over at RogueAPC.com, as well as NFL33.com and RGR Football.
And I'm Chris Clark. Thank you all for listening. There is a lot to talk about. New edition last week with Kadarius Toney, and that is going to be something to definitely watch and to see how it affects things. But we're talking about the rookies today. But Toney does affect a rookie, and we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. If you missed the end of last week's show, our reaction show with that, make sure you go check that out because a lot of good information. Special guest Brandon Olson was with us, so you don't want to miss that. But what that fallout does is cuts into the overall snaps. Now, I think what we saw in the last couple of games is that balance was achieved by running the ball hard. The volume was up a little bit in the run game, not a lot. So I don't think that it cuts like the total number of routes run by receivers, depending on whether they're in 11 personnel, whether they go four wide or what they do. But it does cut it just a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, I think it cuts a little bit. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see and a lot more to talk about when it comes to Toney and how he fits into the offense later this week. But it also could affect Sky Moore because maybe he's not going to be the guy handling punt returns anymore. Maybe they're looking at using him as a punt returner.
That's the big thing. And that's where I see this as the bonus. I think, as we talked about, maybe we didn't say it straight out, but I do think Toney should be a guy that's where he can make immediate impact. Is this trade really for the next 2 seasons when you have possibilities of maybe Juju isn't here, maybe MVS isn't here? We don't know. This is all a tryout season, right? So now at least you have what was a former first-round pick. We'll talk about that a little bit in camp. So now how can you get him into the offense? It is by doing that and let Sky concentrate on the offensive piece. And I think that this is good all the way around for Sky in terms of not having to divide and not having to be, stressed out about the return game that he struggled in. Let him concentrate on the offense.
Yep. And you would think that could – it'll be curious to see how much it lends itself to maybe even taking some kickoff returns. Punt return, kickoff return, see what they use Toney in. Pacheco, and that's a big question, and that's something we're going to talk about as well, how it's going to affect Pacheco because he was the starting running back against the 49ers. So you have to wonder if they're also thinking at this point that Toney can step in and take those responsibilities at least a little bit so you take a little bit more off of his plate.
Yeah, and I agree. It allows Toney a way to affect the special teams. It allows Sky to concentrate on affecting the offense. It allows Pacheco to concentrate on affecting the offense in what is a more profound way. He already has, but that's a good thing. We'll talk about Pacheco in the upcoming maybe we should just talk about him here because we're talking all offense right now. So Toney gets to get a little action. Let's Sky concentrate. Let's Pacheco concentrate, and that takes us to Pacheco.
Well,
go ahead.
I just want to say one thing really quick on Toney. It also gets him involved with the Chiefs in a way that I don't know that he's going to be able to get up to speed in the offense as quickly as you would want. Mm-hmm. So, yes, it's great that they're on a bye. Yes, he can come in and he can start trying to learn, trying to get into the offense. They can build packages for him. But he's not going to be as involved in the offense as a guy like Juju who's been here through training camp. So this also gives him a chance to be more effective and more useful for Kansas City.
Yeah, absolutely. And by doing all that, you allow Pacheco to just concentrate that much on offense as well. And I don't know if that's a positive or a negative, because when I look at what Pacheco's done, it seems like the special teams gives him a spark. Like he is providing a spark for the offense, certainly, with the way that he attacks the run. But it felt like he got going after a return or two is what I felt.
Yeah, and I can see that. And maybe they don't take it all away from Pacheco. Maybe they're just giving him some of the kick return snaps. But the point is if you're going to make him the starter, he can't be the full-time kick returner. I mean,
Right.
you would hope that they're not going to have that many kicks, but the reality is you can't have him do that.
Yeah, you got to hope so. So the question becomes is, after the performance against the Niners, and obviously we haven't seen any practice yet this week. It's been a downtime for them. They're going to get back at it here, I believe, tomorrow late, just with an initial walkthrough and that kind of thing. Do you think the Pacheco should be the starter here at this point going forward, at least this week, let's say?
I do think that it is one of those things that you have to look at, and you have to wonder, is he going to be your guy going forward? And I think that that's definitely something they need to consider. I don't know that I see it completely. I do think he can. There's a lot of things he can do and he can do well, but it's the question of, is he ready in pass protection? To me, that's really where the starter comes in. And I know Clyde isn't really that guy either. They have McKinnon, but then you're starting to divvy up snaps between three running backs that you're kind of using already as it is. So does it really matter if he's the starter or not? Just if he's out there for the first snap, he's technically the starter, but is he going to get starter reps?
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp Therapy Online. Life comes at you fast, and it doesn't have our user's manual, so you got to get into the thick of it. And when it's not working for you, you can have a tendency to feel stuck. BetterHelp can help. They've connected 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient, it's secure, and accessible anywhere because it's all online. You might need it. Someone next to you might need it. Someone in your extended family might need it. Everyone can benefit from therapy and just having someone that they feel free to speak to. There is a lot that can come from it, and everyone deserves to feel their best. BetterHelp makes it easier to get started. The benefits of online therapy are all over the place. And as the world's biggest service, they've connected millions of people with licensed therapists, vetted therapists, 100% online. It makes it easy, accessible, and affordable to get what you need. There's no waiting rooms. There's no traffic. There's no nothing. You can get unstuck with BetterHelp by going over to BetterHelp.com/locked on and check that out. You can get 10% off of your first month at BetterHelp.com/locked on. That's BetterHelp.com/locked on.
Do you have any anniversaries coming up? I know Christmas is right around the corner. This is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to look at. Also, if you're looking to maybe pop the question to that special someone in your life, you have a milestone coming up. You need to go talk to our friends at BlueNile. As the original online jeweler, BlueNile offers the largest selection of independently graded diamonds and prices priced significantly below traditional retailers. BlueNile has helped millions of couples create their perfect engagement ring. Their easy online tools let you choose the diamond shape, size, and clarity, as well as the setting style. BlueNile's bench jewelers will then help you handcraft your perfect one-of-a-kind engagement ring. Looking for a piece of fine jewelry to commemorate a special milestone, but still having trouble choosing? BlueNile has jewelry experts on hand 24/7, available via phone or chat to help you find a memorable gift at every budget. Shop stress-free at BlueNile's 100% satisfaction guarantee. All BlueNile orders are insured and shipped for free in discreet packaging. They also offer overnight shipping if you're in a rush. Make your moment sparkle with BlueNile. Go to BlueNile.com and use code LOCKEDON to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. That's BlueNile.com/LockedOn to save $50 on your purchase of $500 or more. BlueNile.com, code LOCKEDON.
So now we get to turn to the other rookies. And obviously, there's 2 first-rounders on this team that the team selected with the idea of getting them right into the lineup. And that's happened for both of them. It's just that Trent McDuffie got hurt. And as we have sat through this bye week, we hope that McDuffie should be able to start coming back here. We don't have a lot to talk about. He's got 32 snaps under his belt. He's got 21 coverage snaps, but he has 0 targets. So far, in one ball game, they're pretty scared of him, so he didn't get targeted. It's not, in my opinion, back to square one, because he's had all these mental reps. He's been in the film reviews. All that's been fine. But it is still a good volume of rookie rust that's on there, of not having played enough snaps at the level. So I expect yes, he'll play, but I think it'll come on a little bit gradually. And I don't know that he's going to be instant impact right off the bat, as you would expect for somebody who's going to play in week 9.
Yeah, and I think that it's something to watch. I wonder, the thing that's really weird with him in my eyes is that they didn't bring him back earlier They had the opportunity. They activated him. They gave him the 3-week window, and they didn't bring him back. So to me, that tells me that they're a little worried about that injury, just a little bit. So you have to wonder if they're going to throw him out there to start the full and have him play the full game, or if they're going to ease him into playing after so much time off.
Yeah. And honestly, I think it also could have been the fact that they weren't very scared of the San Francisco 49ers. So an extra 2 weeks of rest was maybe worth the gamble there just based on film.
But they could have brought him up against the Bills. He was eligible to come back against the Bills. So that's where I would have thought that they would have brought him back. But obviously, they didn't think he's ready. So at this point, we'll see him back probably against the Titans, I would imagine.
That's my thought as well. Now, folks, we are recording the Week 9 games have not started yet. So I'm going off of the stats from just the 8 weeks. I'm sorry, the 7 weeks. Week 8 hasn't kicked off yet. So George Karlaftis has played 7 games. Aiden Hutchinson has played 6. But they are the 2 leaders in the rookie class in producing pass rush pressure. George Karlaftis is actually the leader as of now. We'll see what happens this week because I do believe Hutchinson will play. Obviously, George won't. But, Chris, does that surprise you that despite not having the bend around the edge and the athleticism that is considered elite, that he's in a position, even though he has played an extra game, to be leading the rookie class in pressures right now?
No, it doesn't surprise me. And I think, there's a lot of things that PFF doesn't do great. But this is one of the things where I think they actually locate some responsibilities and who's getting pressure. And yes, there's always going to be questions there, but I think that this is one thing that they actually do track very well.
I think that that's really impressive because I expected him to get to this point where he could produce multiple pressures per game. I didn't expect it to be in the first half. He does have, I think, increased his athleticism, at least his flexibility, and able to roll with it. But I can't say that I expected that yet. I thought that would be an initial season of just training and playing as he developed technique, developed understanding of the game, and then work on the physicality. But he's been able to take that a step farther. And so for George Karlaftis, I feel he's a little bit ahead of his development right now. Now, things are going to even out here as he has the week off. Hutchinson will play, and so we'll see if that can maintain that. He does have one qualm in that process, in that win percentage, he's right on par with Hutchinson, with Kayvon Thibodeau, in there with Drake Jackson. Sam Williams, by the way, has been crushing in his win percentage in terms of per snap. But the thing that George has not done yet is get home and get to the passer. A total of a sack. Hutchinson leads this class with 5, followed up by Drake Jackson with 4. And so it's not like there's a host of pass rushers that are leaving him behind. But if he can get to that finish point where he can convert those pressures to sacks, he'll be that much closer to being a guy that actually plays up to his billing as a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, and that's very important. I think that that's going to be something that he's going to be able to do, and I think that he's going to continue to get better and better. And it's really learning about how you're going to adjust your game from a strictly power game to be able to use hand fighting and be able to get into the tackles more. And really be able to change what you're doing and how you're attacking people, because right now he is a young player, he's learning, and the pressures are there. He's getting there, obviously, as much as one of the guys that was drafted, I think, what was Hutchinson, 2 overall?
Yeah.
I mean, hard to argue he's as productive as Hutchinson. Yeah, he's not getting the sacks. The sacks will come. Karlaftis is also part of the reason why some of the other guys are getting sacks as well. He's pushing the quarterback into different lanes. So I think you take that into account as well.
Agreed. Now, folks, don't forget to check out Locked On Sports today. It is our newest channel here on the family, both on YouTube and on the audio. And it wraps everything up, all the big stories for all the major sports into a single podcast. You want to check that out as well. Now, today, we are brought to you by PrizePicks, and it's very interesting, obviously, as we go into a bye. The question becomes is what is Josh Allen going to do? Is it going to be 315 yards? Is it going to be more? Is it going to be under that? Less than? That's the question that PrizePicks puts to you. It's the easiest way to play daily fantasy sports. They set a line. You choose if it's less or more, up or down, nice and easy. You took 2 to 5 of those players, and that's how you roll in your projection. You can win up to 10 times the money that you put in a single entry. There's no competing against other people. There's no projections or lineups to set. It is that much plus minus, more, less as you go through, and you can do all the major sports and a bunch of ones that are a little bit fringe, if you want to ask me. Disc golf is in there, obviously boxing, MMA, cricket, and all kinds more. It takes 60 seconds or less. It's easy, it's safe, and it's fast. It's in 30 states and Canada. All you got to do is real simply go get the PrizePicks app. It's in any app store. You can also sign up at prizepicks.com. That makes it a little bit easier to play daily fantasy sports. First-time users get 100% right now. 100% deposit bonus if you use our code Locked On. That's 100 for 100 or 25 for 25, whatever you choose to do. So don't forget, the promo code is Locked On at prizepicks.com. So as we look through the rest of this draft class, we talked obviously earlier in the show about the offensive side of the ball. That happened to be, a second-round pick and a seventh-round pick. So now we get into the meat. And the guys that are putting up snaps in, I got to start with the second rounder. I'm sorry. Brian Cook, slow start, had a bad game. He got kind of out of hand, has made a couple of nice plays. He's putting in about the same level of snaps as Leo Chanel, the third-round pick, who's obviously playing just as the Sam in the base. Haven't really seen what a lot of folks had hoped would be a pass rush specific role for him. So he is really playing as an off-ball linebacker that they happen to blitz well. I love that concept. That's what he should be used for. Who stands out to you with these two guys, the mid-round picks that are actually getting a lot of playing time?
Well, I think Cook has a great skill set that is really going to help this team a lot in the second half of the season. The big question is can he stay on the field? Can he stay healthy? And I only say can he stay healthy because he did have injuries at Cincinnati. He played through most of them, but he was injured. So that's going to be a question. And if he's able to stay healthy, I think he can help on the back end of the defense. Then you look at Chanel, and he's a guy that's, he's not going to get a ton of playing time. But if he can give the Chiefs a little bit of a different dimension when he comes on the field and still attack, I think they're going to be in good shape.
I do too. And I think they're valuable snaps. Cook at 119 right now and Chanel at 107. Cook's grading out pretty well. So you want to give him that flowers right there. But then we move on to the guys that surprise, the guys that are making their noise as third-day picks that are playing above their weight right now. And obviously nothing goes further than Jalen Watson, who is actually leading your rookie class in snaps at 381 at this point. That is a great contribution. Now, again, this was due to the injury to McDuffie. If that hadn't happened, McDuffie's on the field. Maybe Jalen doesn't get pressed into service until the Fenton injury, which cuts his snaps down probably below 300, to tell you the truth. But in being the seventh-round pick, is getting the most snaps and holding up. His overall grade from PFF is right about even with Cook. I actually give him a little bit more of an edge just because I feel like Cook has missed a few more tackles that I wish he would have come through on. But Watson certainly is outperforming his draft stock. And now we have Joshua Williams coming in and just adding to that. Those two guys in particular, and nothing against Najee Johnson and Darian Kinnard, who are not getting significant snaps at all. I don't think Kennard's played one yet, and Najee's a handful. So it really is about J&J. So I'm not perturbed by Josh Williams' slower development than Jalen Watson, but I gotta come up with better nicknames for these guys because now they're both their initials are JW. So I'm just getting even worse. But this is the thing. This is where Veach is hitting on quality players on day 3 that can actually play for you. This has been a theme. L'Jarius Sneed obviously is the standout, but they've gone to the well on day 3, earlier on day 3 for the DBs in the past and had it work out, at least to some effect. I wonder if that's not the future of what the pass rush has to be. We'll get to that later, but who stands out to you right now as ready for a surge out of the 2 J-dubs for the second half of the season?
I think you have to think that it's going to be Jalen Watson. I think that Watson showed against the Chargers that he can play in this league. It wasn't a great decision by Herbert to throw that ball and questionable why the tight end wasn't available to catch it, but he still made a play, made a touchdown out of it from 99 yards out. That says something in the NFL, and it really is what sparked Kansas City to actually win that game, in my opinion, in a lot of ways. So to me, I think that Watson is going to take another step forward. I think he's going to be impressive as the season goes on. I think Williams can get there. It's the recognition that he's still working on, and it's also being in the right place. He has the skill set. He has the ability. being in with a NFL offense for, for a year is going to really help him. And I think he's a bigger piece in 2023, which is, I think, what they always wanted for him.
I have to think so as well. And kudos to Josh, because he made that play in the end zone against the Niners in much a similar situation. That's a ball that probably should not have been thrown, or should have just been thrown away. That's due to the pressure and the lack of the read on Jimmy Garoppolo's part. But in both situations, that's not the fault of the DB. You have to take advantage and make the play against a quarterback that makes a mistake. That's your job, is to capitalize on that mistake. And I feel like both of these guys are doing it. Now, I don't know what happens. Personally, I feel like Watson should probably stay in the starting role over Fenton initially until we see what happens. Do you agree?
I think that would probably be smart. I think that Fenton has shown his skill set is probably topped out, at least from what I've seen over the past couple of weeks when he has been playing. He likes to be really grabby. Watson is going to compete. He may get beat, but he doesn't seem to be getting the penalties. And I think that could really play into how this team is going to defend going into the future.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Let's see what happens, folks. We should know in the next couple of days. But we thank you for tuning in on a Monday that's a bye week. I know it's always a little bit slow to get started again when it is game week, but we're ready. We hope that you are. We're going to have a lot. Matt will be back with us here very quickly, and we'll have more for you tomorrow as we get ready for the second half of this season. It's a much longer half. It's probably not even fair to call it a half, but hey, it is what it is. We'll run it down for you and get ready for this next contest. Thanks for watching us today or listening, whatever platform you're on. Make sure you like and sub over on the YouTube, as well as check out Locked On Sports, the newest feed for all the top stories in all the top sports. You can find that on Odyssey or anywhere you get your podcast. It's Locked On Sports Today. Thanks for listening to us today, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.